building a strong sales pitch when selling insurance. So let's start by looking at some assumptions about the prospects that we sell to, and these kind of apply regardless of what you sell, but I like to assume that in general, people don't really enjoy being sold to. As well, if you're doing outbound prospecting, then you're typically, if you interact with prospects and you're contacting them versus them contacting you, you're likely not to reach them when they're in a buying mode. As well, when you're selling insurance related products, it can often be the case that when you interact with prospects, they often already have some sort of insurance in place for what you sell. Depending on the product that you're talking about, there's a very good adoption level for that particular product. Or there's some insurance products where you cross paths with a lot of prospects that don't think they need that particular insurance. And in general, again, regardless what you sell, I believe it's safe to assume that prospects that you interact with, they get sold to a lot. So you need to really keep that in mind, that you're not the only salesperson that is reaching out to them, and these assumptions all should really impact your sales pitch and how you go about interacting with prospects. I also want to look at a couple assumptions that we can make of salespeople, and these apply not just to insurance salespeople, but to all salespeople, in my opinion. And that is that many salespeople, like if we look at the total market of that includes everybody that can be sold to, I personally think that, well, if you look at the entire market, you have the majority of people that you interact with that you could maybe classify as suspects. They really don't fit well at all with what you have to sell. They either don't need it, can't use it, won't buy it, or they're not able to buy it and move forward. And then you have a smaller slice of the people that do possibly fit. They could maybe need, they might want, they could buy, and that's a smaller slice, but those are the possible people that do fit. And what I think is that, and then you can also add to that mix a smaller slice of where there's definitely a fit with someone needing what you sell, and then a smaller slice of that with there's a fit right now. Because there's some people that need what you have, but they just don't need it right now. Maybe they're currently using something and they are interested in 6 months, 12 months. I mean, that can be very common in the insurance world. But what I feel like is that many salespeople go out there and they just try to sell to everybody. They will try to sell to anybody that they can get a meeting with. They will try to get a meeting with anybody that they get on the phone or that they cross paths with. And I think that is something that a lot of salespeople do incorrect. And if you go to the other side of the extreme, or even those same salespeople, when they are trying to sell to everybody, you have salespeople that are always looking for the prospect that's ready to buy right now. Meaning this is someone who is always going out there, and it's sort of like a yes no. You have something to sell. Is this somebody that's going to buy? And if not, then they move on. And the reality is that I personally think both of those extremes are very bad traps for salespeople to fall into, and that you should really just more so focus on the red portion of that pie, which is those that could possibly fit, and I'll talk about that here in a second. The other assumption that I believe is that there's a lot of salespeople, and I think this actually over the years has become less with insurance sales, but I think that there are salespeople that really have a product-centric sales pitch. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here today, is how to build a good, strong pitch when selling insurance. But what I don't want you to have is a product or company-centric sales pitch, and that looks like something like, and maybe you can relate to this if you've crossed paths with someone. This could either be an email that you received from a salesperson, it could be a cold call that you received, or maybe somebody that you spoke to at a networking event. But it goes something like this. They might say, yeah, I'm with such and such company. Oh, and we provide this type of service. Hey, what are you guys doing in this particular area? And so it's all really about the company, about the product, about me, and then trying to sell that deal. Again, going back to that pie where we're either looking for those that are going to buy or moving on, and that type of pitch. So that's what I personally think that a lot of salespeople do. And again, as we try to build your sales pitch and give you direction for what you can do, and by the way, we're going to give you clear, exact things to do in terms of your sales pitch. And I do want to point out, I've actually never sold insurance, but a lot of my clients have. And what we provide at SalesScripter is more of a methodology and tool set. And our tool set and methodology fits really nicely with insurance. And so I'm going to go through some examples and use some insurance industry lingo in our when we talk about the pitch. And I don't want you to get too hung up on the exact examples that I use, because they might not be perfect. But what you can do is you can take the models and the model and the methodology and the tactics and apply them to your world and the products that you sell. And you should leave this this webinar with clear, exact direction. I'm real big on I attend a lot of training sessions, and you get a lot of either fluffy stuff and stuff that sounds good, but you don't really know exactly how to implement or what to do. You will have crystal clear steps of what to do. But if we factor in those assumptions, how should that impact the pitch that we put together? Well, the way that the methodology that we use really uses pre-qualifying questions at the core of the pitch. A lot of salespeople, when they think about the sales pitch, they try to think about, okay, how am I going to describe my products and my company in such a way that it's going to be enticing and that it's going to get the prospect ready to buy. I personally think the best sales pitch is the one that has the best questions at the center of it, and I believe that the best salesperson is the one that asks the best questions. So it's not really how are you going to explain your stuff in the fanciest, most persuasive way. It's how are you going to develop the key questions that you need to ask to get the prospect talking. So if you really develop the right questions, and again, I'm going to give you exact direction on how you could compose the optimum list of questions that you should be asking, this is going to accomplish a few real powerful things for you. One is asking good questions is going to help you to narrow into that quadrant of the pie that I said that salespeople should focus on. Instead of trying to sell to everybody, you should focus on those that may fit. And what your pre-qualifying questions are, by the way, pre-qualifying questions are probing questions to determine, does it even make sense for us to talk? Is there even the slightest chance of there being a fit? And if you get answers to your pre-qualifying questions that determine it's not a fit, you can then move on and not try to spend your valuable time chasing that prospect. So these questions are also, you heard me mention in one of the assumptions about salespeople, about prospects, that they get sold to a lot. And if they get sold to a lot, their guard is going to be at a medium level because they get tired of people trying to sell to them. Well, if your pitch has pre-qualifying questions at the core of it, this makes your sales pitch more conversational, gets the prospect talking, and that can help you to get around that assumption that people don't like buying, they're not in buying mode, they get sold to a lot. So I also think that asking questions, I want you to be more in a planting seeds than picking fruit mode. You heard me mention that a lot of salespeople just look for those that are ready and able to buy today. That is a picking fruit mindset. You think about a farmer walking through an orchard and looking for the trees that are bearing fruit and going and picking the fruit. That's a totally different mindset than the farmer that's planting those seeds, and so your questions will help you to go in that direction. Now, this is a slide that I go to a lot in a lot of my presentations. I think it's really important to sort of break down the early sales cycle stages that you need to navigate and go through. And we're here to talk about building a strong sales pitch. And so why am I showing you sales process stages? Well, the thing is that if you're set the type of sales pitch that you use, or the portion of your sales pitch that you use, is different depending on the sales cycle stage that you're in. And a lot of salespeople might just sort of have one pitch, and they'll just go out and say the same thing all the time. But what I truly believe is that the first time you interact with a prospect, and this could be on a cold call, it could be them calling you, it could be over an email, it could be at an event, you have 2 to 5 minutes. And so you really can't go into your whole pitch. You really just need to skim the surface. And so I recommend, this is the best time, one of the best uses of this time is to really use your pre-qualifying questions and that I mentioned to you, and to keep about 80% of this interaction on the prospect. By the way, your pre-qualifying questions are going to help you to do that because they get the prospect talking. Your questions are more about them than about you, and then you want to use that 20% to not close the sale, but to close the next step in your process, which might be just having a conversation, and that could be an appointment or a meeting. And again, this kind of gets, so the combination of asking pre-qualifying questions eliminates you from selling to everybody, and then trying to close for the meeting instead of looking for who you can close for the sale helps you to eliminate that misstep of trying to look for the fruit. This puts you more in the planting the seed stage and positions you to build relationships and fill up your pipeline and get conversations going so that you can be there and well positioned for when those prospects are either ready to buy purchase insurance in areas where they aren't using anything today, or it positions you to be there when they are their current insurance products are expiring, or when they're ready to make a change. Now, your sales process might change depending on how you're interacting with someone, who you're interacting with, what your actual sales cycle is. So here's a modification of what I just showed you, which combines those first two steps. You might have your first appointment, first meeting at the first time speaking with someone, and you can go through your sales process that way. Or here's another alternative where you sort of have your first conversation and some sort of presentation, or a presentation of information or of your company at the same time. But getting into a little sales process detail there, let me just keep moving forward. Here's a tactic I want to share with you called a soft disqualify, a soft takeaway. And there's a time and place when you want to do a takeaway from a prospect, but when we add the word soft in there, it's actually not a full takeaway. It's just a slight mention of doubt on whether or not there's a fit. And the reason why I include this when we're talking about your sales pitch is that it can be extremely powerful to include a soft disqualify early in your pitch. What this does, and the reason why I went through those assumptions at the beginning, is because I mentioned a couple things. One is prospects get sold to a lot, they're not in buying mode, and so on. So you can often picture a prospect that has their guard at a medium level. This is really regardless of if they're receiving your email or you're talking to them at an event or whatnot. And so what a soft disqualify statement does is it decreases that guardedness, and it doesn't open them wide open. And what it also doesn't do is there are certain things you can say that triggers more guardedness. I think that the average salesperson that comes out of the gate with that product company sales pitch that says something about I'm with this company, we sell this, that makes a prospect's guard go up. So if you don't do that, and then if you include a soft disqualify statement, then not only are you not triggering the guard to go up, but you actually can make the guard go down a little bit. And so the difference between those two is really great. And that making those small changes in your sales pitch you can see immediate results. So I disqualify people all the time. Someone might answer the phone, and I might say, hey, I'm not sure if you're the right person for me to connect with, but I'm trying to find such and such. If I'm talking to a prospect, I might say something like, hey, I don't know if we can help you in the same way that we've helped some other companies, and you just keep going after that. But when they hear that, they immediately hear, okay, here's someone who's not going to try to hard sell me into what they're trying to do. All right, so those are some core concepts that lay the foundation for different pieces that we build on top of that. And I'm going to go through with you these stages one by one and show you some examples. But step one is to identify the value that you offer, or the value that your products or products offer. If we're really talking about insurance, but could be services depending on the firm you work for. But what is value? Value is basically the benefits that you offer. It can be easy for us to think that the value we offer is what the products do. So, like if we take an example of flood insurance, a flood insurance policy will cover a property in case of a flood by this amount and whatnot. Okay, so that's what the product does. That is the feature or the functionality of the product. But what is the value that offers? Well, the value is coverage and protection in case of a storm. That could be like the bottom level value. And then if you take that one step further, you could say that provides a financial reimbursement if there's a storm or damage. And you could take that to an emotional level and say, what does that mean to my clients? Well, that means that if you're not worried about flood damage, you probably should be. And if you are worried, this coverage will help you to sleep at night. It'll help you to be confident that you have all the coverage in the right place. So if you can kind of get your hands around saying what the policy does and provides is really the features of that product, explaining how that helps your clients is the value. The way to get to the value that either you offer as a whole or the way what your products or services offer, you can kind of go through what I'm going to take you through this messaging workflow. And it's going to involve a little bit of brainstorming on your part, but if you can either list out the products, services, or features of what you provide from a product standpoint, try to brainstorm and think of all the different ways that help. So here's an example: health and welfare consulting. This product helps CFOs to implement cost containment programs, helps manufacturing companies to make better business decisions regarding health and welfare of their employees, helps small businesses to decrease workers' health care costs and risk. So those are the benefits that product offers. Now, what I would say is, in your sales pitch, you want to be more focused on benefits than talking about products and services. Let me show you how you can incorporate benefits into your pitch. When I'm showing you how to incorporate some of these different messaging components, I'm going to flip to some examples that look like this. This is actually a screenshot of a call script that's taken out of the software that my company provides, the software application of SalesScripter. A shameless plug here throughout this presentation is SalesScripter provides a lot of documents and sales tools like call scripts. So this is like the after the introduction, but you can see, I know a lot of salespeople open the call, and I get a lot of cold calls from salespeople that say, hey, hello, I'm with this company and we do this. Well, what a more powerful way to say to open a call this way, to say something like, Hi Mary, the purpose for my call is we help businesses to manage healthcare costs for their employees. And that's the introduction. It doesn't say exactly what my company does, and I don't need to explain in my first sentence exactly what we do. I'm communicating how we help. I mean, if somebody were really onto it, they could pick that apart and say, well, that's not accurate. But when a cold call loop moves at light speed, first of all, they don't remember what you say in the first beginning anyways. But what that's going to do is it's not going to trigger that guardedness of, a salesperson calling me. And then we're not going to trigger that guardedness. And then actually, here's the disqualify statement. We're going to decrease the guardedness. So I say, hey, yeah, we help businesses to lower their overall spend on their benefits and health coverage. But Mary, I don't know if we can help you in the same way that we're helping other companies. So I was actually just calling you with a couple questions if I could ask you real quick. So that's how you use that soft disqualify statement. Now, so that's how you incorporate your value that you offer into your call script. But as you know, as you probably do as well as I do, email is a very big part of selling. So you can also include your value points that you come up with from your brainstorm exercise into email templates. This is actually an email template that's produced by SalesScripter, and this is one that focuses on the value that is offered. So, hey Mary, to quickly introduce myself, I'm with Insure You, and we help businesses to bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. I don't know if you're interested in any of those, but that's why I'm reaching out to you. I'm going to give you a call next week. So notice I get a lot of prospecting emails that try to sell me on the actual product. You know, for example, let me use a payroll services example. I use payroll services. I'm not actively looking to change payroll providers. So I get an email that says, hey, are you looking to switch email outsourcing providers? Well, the answer is no. But so that salesperson went for looking for the fruit to pick. They should have established the conversation. And so that's what this email does, is it doesn't close the sale, it starts the conversation. And this particular email template, which again can be found in SalesScripter, is focused on value. SalesScripter also provides a voicemail script with that same exact message. So I could send you a pre-call email, then I might call you and get your voicemail. Now I'm going to leave you a voicemail message that says something like this. Hey Mary, yeah, I just sent you an email. This is Michael Halper. I'm with Insure You, and the reason why I'm reaching out to you is we help businesses to manage their healthcare costs, lower costs, and better understand the options available regarding health and welfare. I don't know if those are things that you're looking for right now, but I'm gonna try to give you a call here in a couple days. If you want to reach me in the meantime, my number is blah blah blah. Again, Michael Halper, my number. I'm with Insure You, phone number. Thank you. Talk to you soon. So there's a voicemail message. Now notice in that call script, in that email template, in that voicemail message, we're not talking about insurance products. We're talking about benefits that we deliver to our clients. It doesn't stop there. So we can also use those benefits or our value statement, our value proposition, to reply to objections. If you've done any phone prospecting, you know that when you either get a gatekeeper on the call or you get the live prospect, one of the most common screening questions is, what is this call in regards to? So that's if you go with your natural instincts, you're going to want to say, well, I was calling to schedule a meeting to discuss what you guys are using for workers' compensation and blah blah blah, which at that point the prospect goes, we're not buying, see you later, or the gatekeeper. So what a great little misdirection here is to reply with your value statement. So a gatekeeper says, yeah, what is this call in regards to? Oh, well, the reason why I'm reaching out to you guys is that we help businesses to get recognition for operating with lower costs. And just sit there. Say your value statement and just sit there. And what the gatekeeper is not going to hear what they're listening for in order to get rid of you. So they'll either ask you another question or they'll put you through. It's amazing. Do this and just watch. You can do the same response if it's a sales call. So what you're seeing here is actually objection responses that are produced by SalesScripter on a tool that we call an objections map, which is a document that lists all sorts of different objections that you're going to face. And because the tool, you create your value proposition, it's going to, by the way, all these different templates and tools I'm showing you, these get automatically created by the software, because once you enter the value that you offer, we can then create your voicemail script, create your email templates, create your objection responses. Once you're done with brainstorming the value you offer, start to think about the pain or the problems that you help to fix. Pain's like something on your prospect side that is causing a negative impact or not working as good as it could be. You might know off the top of your head, oh, I know I fixed this problem, and this problem. But here's an exercise you can go through to develop an optimum list of problems that you should be looking for. Even if you can think of a few, you might miss one. And so try going through this exercise. After you brainstorm the value points that you offer, for every benefit that you offer, 95% of the time you can associate a pain point or problem with that benefit. It's typically like the inverse, the opposite. So if you help someone to lose weight, then a problem is it's difficult to lose weight, or someone is concerned about their weight, or someone is overweight. So just look for the opposite. Here in this example, we help CFOs to implement cost containment programs. A pain point that could be brainstormed to be associated with that is that it can be difficult to design and implement successful cost containment programs. If you go through this exercise, you should end up with a good list. I mean, you want at least three to six pain points. I mean, in theory, if you really want to get granular, for each product you could have a different set of pain points. And if you really want to get very sophisticated, for the different people that you sell to, you could have a different list of pain points, meaning if you sell to small businesses versus large businesses, the pain points can be slightly different. What can we do once we have a list of pain points? Well, these fit great in your call script. If you're talking to a prospect and your goal is not to sell the product, if your goal is to get to a meeting and establish a real healthy conversation, and let's say that you've asked a couple questions and you're not really hearing anything that means that they fit in that red quadrant of may fit, you could give them some examples of the problems that you help to fix. It could be used as a last-ditch effort before you walk away, and you say something like, okay, well, hey, you know what? When I talk with other businesses or other clients, they often express challenges with pain point 1, pain point 2, pain point 3. Are you concerned about any of those? Can you see any? Can you relate to any of those? And if the prospect says no, those aren't a concern at all, then that might be telling you that this is a prospect that's in that gray area, and just somebody that would be a waste of your time to try to pursue. So that's how you can incorporate pain points in your call script. Again, that's a part of a call script that's produced by SalesScripter. You can also produce great email templates. So here's a pre-call email. Hey, to introduce myself, I'm with InsureU, and we find it's common for businesses like yours to have challenges with pain 1, pain 2, pain 3. I'm not sure if you're concerned about those, but that's why I'm reaching out. I'll try to give you a call next week. So these email templates, I don't want you to look at them and say, that's not going to close my deal or generate a lead. But what these emails are, they're not designed to do that. And what they're definitely not designed to do is to trigger that guardedness. I get emails every day that I delete within looking at. I mean, I can read a subject line from an email and delete it. What you want to do is when you're emailing your prospects, your goal isn't necessarily to get them to respond. Your goal is to do what you can to avoid the instant delete. If you can get them to at least read the email for 3 to 5 seconds or whatever, some sort of minimal amount, then you're going to increase your success. And so that's one thing that these do. And if they have these pain points, you develop the right list of pain points that you help to fix, and they see those right here, then that should grab their attention. And if they don't have those pain points, then it won't grab their attention, or it shouldn't grab their attention. And that's fine, because that's not a good prospect for you to spend your valuable time with, because they don't really need what you sell. SalesScripter and this methodology also produces a pain voicemail message, which is similar to the value one, but we just insert the pain points. Again, we're not talking about the products that we sell. What's really nice here is, so at this point I've shown you 2 different emails and 2 different voicemails. Well, what you can do with that, which can improve your ability to get in the door, if we agree that it's difficult to get a hold of prospects, and that sometimes you have to make multiple passes, then what these different messages allow you to do is it allows you to send different emails and leave different voicemails when you're making those multiple passes. So you're accomplishing a couple really powerful things here. One is you're getting away from the product company pitch. So you're decreasing that sort of guardedness and instant delete on messages, and you're also hitting them with different messages over a period of time, so you can improve you can improve how much you're educating the prospect, and you can improve your odds of putting something out there that grabs their attention. You can also use your pain points as objection responses. So someone says, "Oh, I'm not really interested." "Oh, hey, yeah, I understand. But when I talk with VPs of HR, I notice that they sometimes express challenges with pain 1, pain 2, pain 3. Are you saying that you're good in all those areas, or have you ever seen any of those?" So at that point, you're just trying to keep the conversation going, and so you can use your pain as objection responses. Moving through these, I often call these the pillars of effective sales messaging. And so the next pillar is qualify. Now, the very first sort of structural thing that I suggested to you was to have at the core of your sales pitch, which is really the topic here today, is to use good probing questions. And so we recommend a two-step qualifying process. Step one being pre-qualifying, which is what you do when you're out there networking. When you're networking, I know networking is a real big lead generation tool in the insurance industry. And so when you're networking, these are great. You should treat that the same as that very first box on the sales process. You have about 2 to 5 minutes to work with. Now, you can end up talking to someone for longer at a networking event. But what I would say is that you've progressed through that stage to the second stage, and what you're having there is you're having an instant meeting. I personally think actually if you're at a networking event, you should always move on to find other people to talk to and save that meeting for another day. So you close that prospect on, "Hey, I want to talk to you more about this. Let's meet over coffee, or let me come by your office," and you close the next stage, and then you move on so you can continue to generate other leads. But the point here is that it's in that very 2 to 5 minute stage that you use your pre-qualifying questions. It's in the next stage that you might do like a deeper level of qualifying, which is really finding out details about let's say you might want to find out if the person you're talking to is the ultimate decision maker. That's not something you need to find out in your pre-qualifying. That's what you do in step 2. Meaning, I don't need to know if you're the ultimate decision maker in order to know that I want to schedule you for an appointment. I'll find that out in the appointment. It's in that first step that we want to ask pre-qualifying questions. So let me talk to you about how to develop your list of pre-qualifying questions. We've kind of gone through this workflow where we started with a product that led us to some benefits, that led us to pain and common problems. What we can do to really develop an optimum list of questions is let's look at those pain points. For each pain point, we should be able to come up with at least 1, 2, or 3 probing questions. So if we know that a key pain point that we help to fix is it can be difficult to design and implement successful cost containment programs, a good question to ask when we're out there calling, looking to find if people fit in the right quadrant of the people that we're trying to talk to, is how much of a priority is it for you to implement new cost containment programs? If we help to fix that, it is complicated trying to figure out what the best alternatives and options are, regarding benefits or healthcare or dealing with Obamacare, whatever. Then a good question to ask is, how confident are you that you have a complete understanding of what your options are in the area of health and welfare? These are just conversational probing questions, and if you design them right, you can't really say yes is positive and no is negative. I mean, if you get the answer that fits, then this means, then one is you might start a really good little chat going on, but you're also pre-qualifying this person to be somebody you should invest your valuable time with. It's very conversational. It's less of, let me talk to you about me, my company, my product, and see if I can sell you what I have to sell you, right? So this helps to diffuse a lot of those assumptions we put out there in the beginning. I'm a real fan of crawl, walk, run. So you could develop a list of 3 to 5 to 10 probing pre-qualifying questions that work for everything you sell and deal and fit with everybody that you sell to. If you really want to get sophisticated, you could create different campaigns. That's also something that SalesScripter helps you to do. Is if you can sell insurance to individuals and also to businesses, those are going to be two totally different campaigns, even knowing some of the products are the same. So when you go through these stages, the value is going to be different for an individual versus a business, and that's going to lead you to different pain points, and that will lead you to different probing pre-qualifying questions. So the crawl stage is, let's at least get some of these points together, and then the walk and run stage is going to be having a different campaign for the different audiences that you sell to. And by the way, SalesScripter allows you to do that real easily, because when you flip, you can have your individual campaign, your businesses. Maybe you have a campaign targeting a particular vertical, like high technology companies or manufacturing. And so in SalesScripter, you just click on the campaign you want, and all of your documents automatically get filled out with the key questions for that particular audience. So it really allows you to have a buyer persona focused messaging, and to flip between those, at the flip of a coin. That's something that can make you perform better if this is all for you. But we really hit a home run when you're talking about teaching all of this to an entry level either insurance agent that might work for you, or maybe having someone do appointment setting for you. If you have these tools in place, it can make delegation and training and onboarding drastically shorter, and then that person ultimately more successful. Let me show you how we can incorporate pre-qualifying questions into some of your sales pitch. I've been showing you some segments of a call script. My favorite call script is I throw my value statement at someone, I soft disqualify them, and then I jump right to asking 3 to 5 probing questions. So the reason why I'm reaching out to you is I work with VPs of HR and show them ways to lower and control their benefits expenses and costs for their employees. I don't know if you need what we provide, but that's why I'm calling you with a question or two. If I could ask you real quick, and then I ask them a couple questions. How the methodology works: if I ask you a couple questions, and if you give me really good answers to those questions, that's what I call a ding 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 moment, and I'll go for the close right there. Like I ask you 2 questions and you say, yeah, that's a concern. Yeah, we haven't done anything in that area yet. Oh, okay. Well, that's why I'm reaching out to you, because I'm with InsureU, and we actually are a full brokerage providing full coverage solutions. And I talk just a smidgen about me, and I go for the close. We can also incorporate pre-qualifying questions into our email template. So this is kind of like a last-ditch email. I wouldn't really lead with this one, but this is an email template that includes your pre-qualifying questions, and so you can take a look at that. I personally think your pre-qualifying questions is going to be one of the best ways for you to respond to objections. An objection that comes up all the time is, just send me your information. Hey, yeah, sure, I'll certainly send you over some information so that I know exactly what to send you. Do you mind if I ask, what are you doing to assess the health of your employees? And I'll ask a couple questions. In most cases, the prospect will answer that question, and that'll give you an opportunity to either ask another question. It might give you an opportunity to extract some valuable information from the prospect, or it might give you a reason to close for the meeting. So pre-qualifying questions are great objection responses. Moving on to the next stage, interest. So if you're following along and you're keeping up with me, you'll notice that I've talked in these messaging sales pitch components I've given you. we talked very little about our products and services. We're focusing more on the value, we're focusing more on the problems, we're asking good questions. Well, at some point you do need to talk about you. And if you're going through those 3 stages that I told you to work through, in the very first stage, you want to talk about you about 20%, and you only have 2 to 5 minutes to work with. So we're only talking about 30 seconds to a minute that you have to talk about you. And you just want to talk enough about you, not to get a client and to close the deal, but so that you can close on establishing the next stage, which might be an appointment, a conversation, a meeting. And what average salespeople do to generate interest is they talk about the products, they talk about the company. Here are some things that you can talk about to be communicated in a more powerful way. Focus on the ROI that you have to offer. Explain how you're different, either the products you sell or your company. Share a client story. Paint a picture of what that client, that prospect will be like if they move forward with you. Discuss the impacts of doing nothing. I mean, that in the insurance space, that's a really good one. I mean, if I'm going to sell you flood insurance, let me talk to you about what could happen if you don't have flood insurance and there's a big storm. With your type of property, it could be anywhere between 50 to 100K in damage if a storm happens that we're due to have. And I don't know when we're going to have one, but if we have one, are you prepared for that? What you should do is you should develop some keys like silver bullet talk points in some of those areas, and then you could deliver a few of them in your early sales cycle stage so you can close for the meeting. When you're in the meeting, you might go into more detail on some of those points. Now step 4 is to develop some name drop examples, which kind of deals with establishing credibility. And so here are four steps you can go through to develop a name drop story, a real quick name drop statement. So first step is identify a past client. Then identify the product or service that you sold them. Then think about what was the initial benefit that they realized, and then what was the ultimate benefit that initial benefit led to. Let me give you an example. In red below are those 4 answers to those four steps there. If you answer those 4 questions, you can plug them into this template and say something like this. Hey Mary, well, we worked with Direct Industrial, and we provided them with health and welfare consulting. This helped them to improve their decision making regarding the benefits that they provide their employees, and that ultimately led to a decrease in medical coverage costs by 10%. So that's a great little name drop story. Now once you have that, you can incorporate that into your sales pitch in a lot of different ways. Here's incorporating that into a call script. It's a great way to open a call. So here we're actually taking out our value proposition at the beginning of the call, and we're going to insert a name drop. So Mary answers the call. Hey Mary, did I catch you in the middle of anything? No, I have a minute or two. What do you got? Okay, well the purpose for my call, Mary, is that we worked with Direct Industrial, and we provided them with health and welfare consulting. This helped them to improve their decision making regarding their benefits, and that ultimately led to a decrease in healthcare costs of 10%. Now, I don't know if we can help you in the same way that we helped them, but if I could ask you real quick, are you currently, and then insert pre-qualifying question. So you can use that name drop at the beginning of a call script. You could also send an email template with it. Hey, to introduce myself, I'm with InsureU, and we help businesses to manage healthcare costs for their employees. Reason for the emails, we worked with Direct Industrial and provided, and there's that same exact name drop little story is plugged there in the middle. So there you have an email template. You can use that name drop on a voicemail script. Hey, the reason why I'm reaching out is we worked with the Direct Industrial and helped them to blah, blah, blah. So there you have another voicemail script. The last stage is objections. So the topic today is building your sales pitch. And again, when most people think of sales pitch, they often usually actually leave out the objection responses. But you're going to face objections again and again and again. So your responses to objections should be part of your sales pitch. So here's some of the objections that that you're sure to face, and you can also add probably like 3 to 5 objections on top of these that are specific to your business. These are all generic, right? Everybody hears, just send me your information. What is this in regards to? I'm not interested, blah, blah, blah. So these are all the same, but you then have unique ones to you that you can answer. You know what's really cool about what we've just gone through? But everything that you just produced by going through this process, you can use as objection responses. You can use your value statement to respond. I showed you that. You can respond with the common problems that you help to fix. You can respond with your pre-qualifying questions. You could respond with building interest points, like an example of how to use building interest points. So someone says we already use such and such. Then a building interest point might be how you differ from other companies out there. So you could mention that, how your differentiation to that could be one of your responses to objections. A name drop example. So again, SalesScripter produces a tool called an objections map. This is just sort of like a screen capture of that tool. It's basically, and you could create this on your own. By the way, all these sales tools that I'm sharing with you, that I'm telling you that SalesScripter produces, you can create all of this on your own in a Microsoft Word, using Microsoft Word. You could create call scripts, you could create email templates, you could create voicemail scripts, and you could create an objections map, which basically what you want to do is you'll want to create 2 columns. On the left column, put the objections. On the right column, you put your responses. And so you can do all that. The fascinating thing about SalesScripter is what SalesScripter is going to do is it's going to ask you it's going to give you a workflow for you to enter the key things about your world, such as the value you offer, the pain points you resolve, and it's going to take you through this automated interview. So it's going to extract all that knowledge that's in your head, and the software is going to put it together in a very structured, organized way, so that it can create all these tools instantly. So then, when you're prospecting, with the click of a mouse, you can either get to the email template you want, you can get to the objection response you want, you can get to the voicemail script you want. Anyway, so that's what we had to present to you today. Now, like I said, we didn't get into exact language for you to use selling insurance. We gave you a methodology because, as you know, there's tons of different products. There's tons of different types of insurance to sell, or different industries to sell into. But what we wanted to provide you with was a methodology that you could then plug into and then fill out your stuff. So if you want more help, we are here to help, and we can either work with you one-on-one, providing sales coaching or sales consulting. We can help you to improve your approach from a prospecting standpoint. We can help you to organize your thoughts, your script, your sales pitch. We provide coaching one-on-one in 2 to 5 hour blocks. We do provide group coaching if you just want to stick your foot in the water and start to kind of see what it's like to work with a coach and take on a lighter expense. We have 1 hour group coaching where we meet once a week, and everybody gets to hear the coaching with the other coachees, and it's at a fraction of the cost. So if you're interested in coaching or consulting, send an email to info@salescripter.com. If you want some help but you're not real ready to either commit to anything or spend any money, I would encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. There's over 130 videos on our YouTube channel. All of our webinars are on there. We have a full sales training program, and it's all free. Check out some of our ebooks. You can download them for free. We have 5 ebooks on our website. Check them out. We also have a real book that I wrote. It's on Amazon. And the difference between the real book and the ebooks, there's one thing to think about. The real book's $15. But the thing I like about this, and me personally, when I download ebooks, I never really fully read them. They end up lost in my email box. They end up on my hard drive, and I don't really read from my computer screen as well as I do with when I have a book that I can take notes in and highlight. So that's what the cold calling equation is good at. Is it's designed to be a reference manual. There's a chapter for all the main components to prospecting. So there's a chapter on objections. There's a chapter on voicemail, gatekeepers, asking good questions. If you have salespeople that work for you and you like this methodology, I would encourage you to buy each of those people a copy of the cold calling equation and put it on their desk. The neat thing about it is you don't need to read it straight through. You can flip to the chapter where you need to improve. Here's one way that our training information can be structured into like a 4-week training program. It's actually organized this way on YouTube into some different playlists. So if you want, we do have some clients that use this structure as their new employee sales hire training program. And if you like what we showed you here today and you want some of those tools, I'd encourage you to check out SalesScripter. There are call scripts, email templates, voicemail scripts. I mean, I pretty much showed you everything here today that tool provides. Here's one thing that I didn't talk about is that in SalesScripter there is a folder. SalesScripter is going to allow you to create your own content, and it's going to interview you and pull all your knowledge out of your head. But the one thing is that we have created some pre-built content, and we actually have a folder specific for insurance. And so we have about 10 or 15 campaigns, and you can see some of them here on this screenshot: term life, universal life, disability, long-term care. And so you can go sign up for SalesScripter and grab these campaigns and automatically have all those things filled out: the value, the pain, the questions, and really hit the ground running if you sell some of these products. So you might want to check that out. And I also want to share with you a special offer, which is I typically clients can often hire us to help them to create their campaigns, and we meet virtually and go through and answer all the questions in SalesScripter together with you. That's a service called a Scripter Walkthrough. It's typically $200 for a 2-hour block of coaching. Now, if you sign up for SalesScripter and you sell insurance and you want help creating your campaign, I will spend time with you, me personally, at no cost, and help you to create your campaigns and load up your library if you're open to your content being put into this pre-built campaign folder for others to access. So you could hire me and pay me, and then we build the campaign content, and you only have access to it. But you can do that for free, and if you're willing to share some of your scripts in the public library. So just keep that in mind. I'll probably spend as much time with you as you want to, as long as we're creating campaigns that sort of are applicable to other people, because I'm motivated to basically, my goal is to have our insurance campaign library to be filled with like 40 to 50 campaigns targeting all different industries and types of businesses and products, so that a person like you that sells insurance can go here and they never have to fill out anything. They just grab the campaign they want. So that's pretty much it